The afternoon sun streamed through the window of the small bedroom on Maple Ridge Drive, casting golden bars across the wooden floor. But the light felt wrong. Too quiet. Too still. Elias Thorne stood frozen in the doorway, his tactical vest still dusty from 2 tours overseas, duffel bag forgotten at his feet. He'd imagined this homecoming 1,000 times during long desert nights. Maya's squeals of joy, Leo's babbling laughter, small arms wrapping around his neck. Instead, silence pressed against his eardrums like deep water. Then he saw her. Maya, 6 years old, with tangled blonde hair and eyes that had once sparkled with mischief, crouched beneath the wooden bed frame. Her small body was curved protectively around baby Leo, his pale blue blanket clutched in her blistered hands. The baby's face was flushed, his breathing shallow and quick. Maya's pink polka dot shirt was stained and rumpled, her bare feet dirty against the floor. She wasn't smiling. She was hiding. And standing between them, body coiled like a loaded spring, was Titan. The German Shepherd's lips curled back from white teeth, revealing canines honed for one purpose: protection. His sable coat bristled, muscles taut beneath the tactical harness still bearing Elias's old unit insignia. A low, guttural growl rolled from his chest. Not a warning, but a promise. Titan wasn't guarding the door. He was guarding them. From something. From someone. Maya's whisper barely reached Elias's ears. "Daddy, we had to hide. She said if we made noise." Her voice broke. Titan's growl deepened, hackles rising like razors along his spine. And Elias Thorne understood. His children hadn't been waiting for him. They'd been surviving. Before we begin, tell me, what city are you listening from tonight? Because what happened in this small rental house could happen anywhere. In your neighborhood, on your street, to children whose voices are too small to be heard. But this story isn't just about what was broken. It's about what was protected. Let me take you back to the beginning. The road into Pine Haven wound through bare November trees, their skeletal branches scratching against a gray sky that promised early snow. Elias drove his aging Ford pickup with one hand on the wheel, the other resting on Titan's thick collar. The German Shepherd sat in the passenger seat like a carved monument. 6 years old, 75 pounds of muscle and bone, with amber eyes that tracked every passing car as though still on patrol in Kandahar. Titan wasn't just a dog. He was a weapon, trained to detect IEDs, to drag wounded soldiers from kill zones, to stand between danger and the men who depended on him. The scar along his right flank, a pale ripple beneath glossy black fur, was earned from shrapnel during a mortar attack that took 3 lives but spared Elias's. The dog had saved him more than once. Now Elias was counting on him to help save his children. The deployment had been extended twice. 6 months became 9, then 12. His ex-wife, Sarah, had left when Maya was 3. Couldn't handle the absences, the hypervigilance, the man who came home but never quite arrived. Elias didn't blame her. He'd become a ghost in his own life, but he'd promised his little girl, "Daddy will come home. Daddy will keep you safe." He'd hired Mindy Keller through a neighbor's recommendation. Mindy was local, in her early 40s, claimed she'd raised 3 kids of her own. She'd smiled warmly during the video call, assured him the children would be in good hands. The weekly check-ins had seemed fine. Maya's small face on the screen, waving, saying she missed him but was okay. He'd believed her. He'd believed Mindy. As the truck rolled onto Maple Ridge Drive, Past sagging porches and chain-link fences, Elias exhaled slowly. Almost home. Almost there. Titan whined, a low, uneasy sound. The house looked wrong. The porch light was burned out. No toys scattered in the yard. No children's drawings taped to the window. Elias's gut tightened, the same instinct that had kept him alive in firefights. "Stay close, boy," he murmured. Titan's ears flattened. They climbed the creaking steps together. Elias turned the key, pushed open the door, and stepped into a nightmare disguised as silence. The living room was dim despite the afternoon sun. Dishes were piled in the sink, the smell of sour milk thick in the air. A baby bottle lay on its side, formula dried to a crust. Children's shoes, too small, too worn, sat abandoned by the couch. No laughter, no cartoons, no signs of life. "Maya?" Elias called, his voice tight. "Leo?" Silence answered. Then a muffled sound. A whimper, quickly stifled. The creak of bed springs. Titan's body went rigid. His ears swiveled toward the back bedroom, and his growl started low, barely audible, more vibration than sound. Elias's training kicked in. He dropped the duffel, moved quietly down the narrow hallway, one hand hovering near his hip where his sidearm used to rest. Old habits. The bedroom door stood half open, shadows pooling beyond it. He pushed it wider. And there, beneath the wooden bed frame adorned with cheerful children's drawings taped to the wall, he found them. Maya, 6 years old, crouched like a frightened animal. Her blonde hair hung in tangles, her face smudged with dirt and dried tears. She wore the same pink polka dot shirt from their last video call, weeks ago, now stained and stretched. Her hands, small and delicate, were wrapped around baby Leo, who lay against her chest, silent and staring. His diaper sagged. His lips were cracked. But it was Maya's hands that made Elias's breath catch, blistered, raw, peeling, as if she'd been scrubbing, cleaning, working. Titan moved past Elias in a blur of fur and fury. He planted himself between the bed and the doorway, head lowered, teeth bared, every muscle coiled for attack. Not at the children, at whoever had made them hide. "Daddy?" Maya's voice cracked, barely a whisper. You came back?" She flinched when Elias knelt, flinched as if expecting punishment. "Sweetheart," Elias breathed, his throat tight. "What happened? Where's Mindy?" Maya's lip trembled. She went out. She said," her voice broke. "She said we had to be quiet, that Leo cries too much, that I had to clean, or She couldn't finish. Titan barked once, sharp and fierce. A battle cry. Elias pulled his phone from his pocket, hands shaking with controlled rage, and began taking photographs. The blistered hands, the dehydrated baby, the filth, the evidence. Because this wasn't just neglect. This was war. And Elias Thorne had just found his new battlefield. What happened next would test everything Elias thought he knew about courage, about fatherhood, about what it means to protect those who cannot protect themselves. It would take a soldier's discipline, a community's compassion, and one fiercely loyal dog to transform this house of fear into a beacon of hope. But first, they'd have to survive the enemies already circling. Mindy Keller was about to come home. The landlord was sharpening his threats. And the system, the vast impersonal machinery of child protective services, was about to turn its gaze on this fractured family. The question wasn't whether Elias could fight. It was whether he could fight here, on this battlefield, with weapons he didn't fully understand. and whether Titan's teeth and loyalty would be enough when the darkness came knocking. Stick with us. Because this story, this journey from hiding under a bed to standing in the light, will remind you that miracles don't always announce themselves with trumpets. Sometimes they arrive on four legs, with fur and fangs and a heart that refuses to abandon those who need protection most. Before we continue, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, and share this story if you believe every child deserves a guardian who will never, ever let them hide in fear again. Elias knelt slowly, hands open and visible, the way he'd approach a wounded civilian in a combat zone. Maya's amber eyes tracked his every movement, her small body still curved around Leo like a human shield. The baby's breathing was shallow, his lips cracked and pale. Titan positioned himself at Elias's side, muscles coiled but waiting for command. "Maya, sweetheart," Elias whispered, his voice steady despite the rage building in his chest. "I need you to come out. Bring Leo. You're safe now." Her lip trembled. She said if we made noise. "She's not here, I am." He extended one hand. "And I'm not leaving, not ever again." Maya's fingers loosened their grip on the blanket. Slowly, painfully, she crawled forward, dragging Leo with her. When she emerged into the light, Elias's breath caught. Her hands weren't just blistered, they were raw, skin peeling in strips across her palms. Chemical burns. Bleach, maybe. His 6-year-old daughter had hands like a laborer's. Leo whimpered as Elias lifted him carefully. The baby was too light, ribs visible beneath his stained onesie. His diaper sagged with days of wear. Dehydration had sunken his eyes into dark hollows. Elias pulled his phone from his pocket with shaking hands. He photographed Maya's hands first, then Leo's condition. The filthy bottles in the sink, the empty cabinets, the moldy corner beneath the window. Military precision. Document everything. Evidence doesn't lie. Titan pressed close to Maya, his warm bulk offering comfort his teeth couldn't. She buried her fingers in his fur, the first gesture of trust she'd shown. "Where's Mindy?" Elias asked, though he already knew the answer from the empty bottles of cheap vodka on the counter. "The bar," Maya whispered. "She goes there, a lot." The front door slammed open. Mindy Keller stumbled inside, auburn hair falling loose from its tie, her freckled face flushed with alcohol and irritation. She was tall but gaunt, jeans hanging off sharp hips, her flannel shirt misbuttoned. Her eyes, pale and bloodshot, swept the room and landed on Elias with more annoyance than shame. "Oh, you're back early," she slurred, forcing a smile. "Kids are fine, see? Just been—" Titan's growl cut her off, low, primal, the kind of sound that came before blood. Elias raised his phone, camera lens pointed directly at her face, red recording light glowing. His voice dropped to the tone he'd used commanding men under fire. "Step back, now." Mindy's smile faltered. "Hey, don't be dramatic. I just stepped out for a minute." "Maya has chemical burns on her hands," Elias said, each word a bullet. "Leo is dehydrated. There's mold growing in the cabinets and not a clean bottle in this house. You left children, a 6-year-old and an infant, alone while you went drinking. They're fine. They were hiding under a bed." His voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. "You taught them to be afraid." Titan took one step forward, teeth fully bared now. Mindy stumbled backward, her face draining of color. "This ends tonight," Elias continued, phone steady. "Everything's recorded. I've documented everything. You're done here." Mindy's mouth opened, closed. She looked at Maya, who shrank into Titan's side, and something flickered across her face. Guilt, maybe, or just fear of consequences. "Get out," Elias said quietly. She left without another word, the door slamming behind her. Silence settled again, but this time it felt different. Cleaner. Maya looked up at Elias, her blistered hands still tangled in Titan's fur. "You're really staying?" Elias knelt again, gathering both children close, Titan pressing against them like a living wall. "I'm really staying." And for the first time in months, Maya cried. Not from fear, but from relief. The Thornwood Community Clinic smelled of antiseptic and lavender, an attempt to soften the sterile edges of medicine. Elias carried Leo in a sling against his chest, while Maya gripped his hand so tightly her knuckles went white. Titan walked heel, his amber eyes scanning every face, every doorway, cataloging threats with the precision of a soldier on patrol. Nurse Rosie Camden met them at the front desk. She was short and round, with naturally pink cheeks and curly gray-streaked hair that bounced when she moved. Her glasses slid down her nose as she crouched to Maya's level, smiling warmly. "And who's this handsome fellow?" she asked, nodding toward Titan. "Titan," Maya whispered, hiding half behind her father's leg. "Strong name for a strong dog." Rosie's voice carried the kind of warmth that made even frightened children trust her. She didn't comment on Maya's hands yet, didn't rush. Just led them back to an exam room painted cheerful yellow with cartoon animals on the walls. Titan took up position outside the door, sitting perfectly still, ears forward. When a medical assistant tried to pass, the dog shifted his body to block the entrance. Not aggressive, just immovable. "He won't let anyone through without my say-so," Elias explained. Rosie nodded approvingly. Smart dog knows his job. Dr. Sarah Chen arrived moments later. She was tall and lean with sharp cheekbones softened by gentle dark eyes, her hair pulled into a neat braid down one shoulder. A scar traced along her left forearm, old, long-healed. She moved with quiet authority, washing her hands methodically before approaching Maya. "I'm Dr. Chen," she said, kneeling. "I need to look at your hands, sweetheart. Is that okay?" Maya glanced at Elias. He nodded. Dr. Chen examined the blistered palms with careful fingers, her expression hardening with each passing second. "Chemical burns," she said quietly, "consistent with prolonged exposure to bleach or similar cleaners." She documented everything with photographs, measured the diameter of each blister, noted the peeling skin. Leo fussed as she examined him, checking his weight, hydration, reflexes. Her jaw tightened. "He's underweight for 10 months. Dehydration is moderate but manageable. I'm seeing signs of diaper rash that's gone untreated for days." She turned to Elias, and her voice dropped to steel. "I'm required by law to file a report with Child Protective Services. This is neglect, clear and documented. Someone left these children in dangerous conditions." Elias's throat tightened. "I understand. I want everything documented. I need..." He stopped, steadied himself. "I need to prove they're safe now." Dr. Chen's expression softened just slightly. "You brought them here within hours of discovering this. That speaks volumes." She scribbled notes on a chart. "CPS will contact you within 24 hours. In the meantime, keep them hydrated, clean those burns with saline, and get proper formula. I'll write prescriptions for antibiotic ointment." She handed him a list. These are the basics they need. Don't skip anything. At Turner's Market, Titan took the lead. The German Shepherd trotted confidently down the aisles, ignoring curious stares from shoppers. He stopped in front of the baby formula section, sat, and looked pointedly at the cans. Elias almost smiled. Good boy. Titan moved next to the first aid aisle, then to bottled water, then to soft foods Maya could eat without hurting her hands. Each time he sat and waited for Elias to load the cart. A teenage clerk in a red apron watched, half amused. Your dog's better at shopping than most people. Smarter than most, too, Elias replied. Back at the house, Officer Reese Morgan was waiting on the porch. She was tall with an athletic build, dark hair pulled into a tight bun, and sharp brown eyes that missed nothing. Her uniform looked pressed, even after a full shift. She extended a hand. Mr. Thorne, I'm here about the report filed this morning. Elias invited her inside. Titan followed, positioning himself between the officer and the children without being told. Officer Morgan didn't take offense. She'd seen military dogs before. He's protective. That's good. She pulled out a notepad. Walk me through what you found yesterday. Elias recounted everything. The silence. Maya hiding under the bed. The blistered hands. Mindy's drunken return. He showed her the videos on his phone, the photographs Dr. Chen had forwarded to his email. Morgan's expression grew grimmer with each piece of evidence. Mindy Keller, she said, writing the name carefully. We'll be following up with her. What you've documented here, it's textbook neglect. The video of her admitting she left them alone while intoxicated is particularly damning. She looked at Maya, who was sitting on the couch with Leo in her lap, both watching Titan like he was a living teddy bear. You did the right thing, Mr. Thorne, but I need to prepare you. CPS will be implementing what's called a safety plan. It's a set of rules, structured care schedules, no heavy chores for Maya, regular check-ins. It's designed to protect the children and prove you can provide stability. Elias nodded. Whatever it takes. Morgan stood, tucking her notepad away. Stick to the plan. Document everything. Keep that phone camera ready. You're building a case, not against yourself, but against anyone who'd question whether these kids belong with you. She paused at the door, glancing back at Titan. And keep that dog close. Something tells me you're going to need him. After she left, Elias sat heavily at the kitchen table. The list from Dr. Chen lay beside Morgan's business card beside the safety plan guidelines that would arrive tomorrow. It felt like preparing for deployment all over again. Checklists, protocols, rules of engagement. But this time, the mission was simpler. Keep them safe, no matter what. Titan pressed his head against Elias's knee, and for the first time since coming home, Elias let himself exhale. Amanda Pierce arrived the next morning with a clipboard and eyes that had seen too much. She was in her late 20s, strawberry blonde hair pulled into a neat ponytail, freckles scattered across her nose. Her green eyes were alert, constantly scanning, missing nothing. She'd grown up in foster care herself. It showed in the way she moved through the house, checking corners where neglect liked to hide. Mr. Thorne, she said, extending a hand. I'm here to conduct the home inspection required by the safety plan. Elias had prepared. Fresh groceries lined the shelves, bottles sterilized and drying on the counter, the safety plan taped to the refrigerator like a military operations order. Amanda noted each item with small check marks. her expression neutral but not unkind. Then she opened the cabinet beneath the sink. Black mold bloomed across the wood in ugly patches, spreading like bruises. The pipes dripped steadily, pooling water that had been sitting long enough to grow its own ecosystem. Amanda's pen stilled. This has to be remediated. Environmental safety is non-negotiable. She photographed the mold, the water damage, the warped floorboards. You'll need to report this to your landlord immediately. I will, Elias said, though his gut tightened with the same instinct that had kept him alive overseas. Landlords who let properties decay this badly rarely fix them willingly. Amanda finished her inspection, her expression softening as she watched Maya carefully set the table with plastic cups. Age-appropriate tasks, nothing heavy. I can see you're trying, Mr. Thorne. Keep following the plan. We'll check in weekly. She left just as Barrett Holt's truck pulled up. Barrett Holt was broad and sagging in the middle, thinning blonde gray hair slicked back with too much gel. His flannel shirt strained across his belly, and his pale blue eyes carried the sharpness of a man who'd spent years bullying tenants into silence. He didn't knock, just pushed the door open like he owned not just the property but the people inside it. "Thorne," he barked, "you're 2 weeks behind on rent. I don't care what sob story you're selling. Pay up or I'm changing the locks." Titan's growl rolled through the living room like distant thunder. The dog positioned himself between Barrett and the hallway where Maya had retreated, body low, teeth visible. Elias pulled out his phone, tapped record, and raised it so the lens faced Barrett directly. "Say that again, for the record." Barrett's face flushed red. "You think you can—" "I think you just threatened illegal eviction on video," Elias said calmly. "State law requires due process. You can't change locks without a court order. I know my rights." Barrett sputtered, caught between bluster and the sharp awareness of being recorded. "Soldiers think they can come back and play hero. This is my property. And these are my children." Elias cut in, his voice dropping to the tone he'd used commanding men under fire. "You'll hear from my lawyer." Barrett's jaw worked, but he had no response. He stomped out, muttering curses, his truck engine roaring as he peeled away from the curb. Elias's hands shook as he saved the video. He dialed the number scrawled on a pamphlet from the VA office. "West Legal Services, Gideon speaking." Gideon West had salt and pepper hair that curled slightly at the ends, a worn suit jacket, and a voice that carried both sarcasm and sincerity. His younger brother had been illegally evicted years ago, forcing their family into weeks of couch surfing. Since then, Gideon had carried tenant rights cases like a holy mission. Elias explained the mold, the threats, the video. Gideon listened without interrupting. "You did right recording him. That's intimidation, plain and simple. Text me the video. I'll draft a tenant protection notice tonight. We'll also loop in VA housing assistance. If he tries pushing you out before it's resolved, we've got emergency options." For the first time that day, Elias felt a crack of relief. That night, Titan refused his dinner. The dog lay outside Maya and Leo's bedroom door, head on his paws, ears flicking at every sound. Elias tried coaxing him with treats, fresh water, even hand feeding. Titan didn't budge. "You won't eat until they're safe, will you?" Elias whispered. The dog's amber eyes held his gaze. Steady, unyielding. Inside the bedroom, Maya finally broke. She'd been holding it together, setting tables, whispering to Leo, trying so hard to be brave. But when Elias tucked her in, Smoothing her tangled hair, she grabbed his shirt and sobbed. "I thought you weren't coming back," she gasped between tears. I thought she'd make Leo go away and it'd be my fault." Elias gathered her close, his own eyes burning. "You kept him alive, Maya. You were so brave, but you don't have to be brave anymore. That's my job now." She cried until exhaustion claimed her, and when she finally slept, Titan rose and pressed his nose to the door crack. Martha Sinclair arrived on the third morning carrying 2 canvas bags that smelled of fresh bread and something warm. Hope, maybe, or just cinnamon rolls. She was tall and wiry with silver hair cropped close, wearing a bright teal cardigan that clashed beautifully with her plain black dress. Her hands were calloused from decades of gardening, her lined face open and kind. "Elias Thorne," she said, clasping his hand firmly. "I'm Martha from Pine Haven Community Church. Heard you were back and could use a hand." Elias started to refuse. Old pride, soldier's independence. But Maya peeked around the corner, eyes fixed on the bags. Martha caught the look and smiled. "Got some things from our pantry. Formula, diapers, canned goods. And these," she pulled out a stuffed rabbit and a set of wooden blocks, "for the little ones." Maya's fingers twitched toward the rabbit but stopped, uncertain if accepting was allowed. "Go ahead, sweetheart," Martha said gently. "It's yours." The rabbit was soft and worn, clearly loved before. Maya clutched it to her chest, and something in Elias's throat tightened. Martha unpacked methodically. Formula, baby food, pasta, rice, vegetables, real food, not just survival rations. "Church is covering your utilities this month," she added, matter of fact. "Heat, water, electric. Already spoke to the companies. You've got enough battles without freezing in November." "I don't," Elias began. "Pride doesn't feed children," Martha interrupted, not unkindly. "Let us help. That's what we're here for." Titan approached her cautiously, sniffing her hands. She scratched behind his ears without hesitation. "Good boy, you're doing your job, aren't you?" The dog's tail wagged once, slow and deliberate. That afternoon, Amanda Pierce returned with a thick manila folder. She sat at the kitchen table, laying out the formal safety plan like a contract. "These are your requirements," she said, pointing to each section. Structured meal times, 8 a.m., noon, 6 p.m. Maya does only age-appropriate tasks, setting the table, picking up toys. No cleaning chemicals, no heavy lifting. Leo gets scheduled feedings and naps. Medical follow-ups every 2 weeks. Weekly home visits from me. Elias read each line, committing it to memory. This was his new field manual. "Stick to this," Amanda said, her green eyes serious. "And I'll advocate for case closure within 60 days. She paused. "I should also tell you, Mindy Keller has been officially barred from childcare in the county. It's on state record now. She can't work with children in any licensed capacity. 1 threat down. How many more to go?" Gideon called that evening, his voice carrying a satisfied edge. "Drafted the complaint against Barrett. We're citing habitability violations, mold, water damage, harassment. Sent him a formal tenant protection notice. He's got 10 days to respond and start repairs, or we file with the housing authority." "What if he ignores it?" Elias asked. "Then it escalates. Inspectors, fines, possible court. Men like Barrett thrive on bullying tenants who don't know the law. But you've got documentation and a lawyer. That's usually enough." Elias exhaled slowly. "Thank you." "Thank me when we win," Gideon replied. "Which we will." That night, Something shifted. Maya sat on the living room floor with Leo, stacking the wooden blocks Martha had brought. Leo grabbed one, waving it triumphantly, and knocked the tower over. Instead of crying, he giggled. A bright, bubbling sound that filled the room like sunlight. Titan patted over, gentle despite his size, and nosed the blocks back toward Leo. The baby squealed with delight, reaching for the dog's fur. And Maya smiled. Not the polite, careful smile of a child trying to please. A real smile, wide and genuine, lighting up her amber eyes for the first time since Elias had come home. He sank onto the couch, watching them. His daughter playing, his son laughing, his dog protecting them with a tenderness that belied his battle-scarred body. Martha's words echoed, "Let us help." For years, Elias had believed strength meant standing alone, carrying weight without complaint. The military had taught him self-reliance, that asking for help was weakness. But watching Maya rebuild that block tower with her still healing hands, seeing the bags of food from strangers who cared, feeling the presence of a lawyer he'd never met fighting battles on his behalf, he understood something new. Strength wasn't just muscle and discipline. It was accepting the hands reaching toward you. It was letting people carry you when you couldn't stand alone. It was building something bigger than yourself from the pieces others offered freely. Titan rested his head on Elias's knee, tail thumping softly against the floor. "We're going to make it, boy," Elias whispered. And for the first time, he believed it. The house had finally settled into quiet. Maya and Leo slept soundly behind the closed bedroom door, their breathing soft and even for the first time in days. Elias sat at the kitchen table, reviewing the safety plan one more time, committing every requirement to memory. The clock on the wall read 11:47 p.m. Titan stirred first. The German shepherd's head snapped up from where he'd been dozing near the children's door. His ears swiveled forward, nostrils flaring. A low growl rumbled from deep in his chest, barely audible, more vibration than sound. Elias's training kicked in instantly. He killed the kitchen light, plunging the house into darkness, and moved to the window. His pulse slowed, steady and controlled. Combat breathing. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. Outside, 2 figures approached the porch. One was unmistakable. Barrett Holt's broad silhouette, moving with the graceless confidence of a man who believed he was untouchable. The second was smaller, carrying a toolbox, head down under a baseball cap. Elias's jaw tightened. Midnight, children asleep inside. This wasn't a landlord visit. This was intimidation. He pulled his phone from his pocket, fingers steady despite the adrenaline flooding his system. Flipped it to video mode. Positioned himself by the front window where he had a clear view but remained hidden in shadow. Titan moved silently to stand between the door and the hallway leading to the bedrooms. His body was coiled tight, every muscle ready to explode into action. His lips curled back from white teeth, but he made no sound. Waiting. Trained. The metallic click of tools against the lock mechanism cut through the night. Barrett's voice carried through the door, slurred and aggressive. "Just get it done before he notices. I'll deal with the rest." The locksmith, skinny, nervous, fumbled with a new cylinder, his hands shaking. "Man, I don't know about this. There's kids inside." "I don't pay you to think," Barrett snapped. Elias flipped on the porch light. The sudden flood of brightness caught Barrett mid-motion, freezing him like a deer in headlights. The locksmith jerked, dropping a screwdriver that clattered loudly against the wooden boards. Titan's bark exploded through the house. Fierce, thunderous, a sound that promised violence. Elias opened the door a crack, phone raised, recording light glowing red. His voice was calm, cold, honed from years of command. "Step away from my door, Barrett. You're being recorded." Barrett's face flushed, caught between fury and panic. "You're behind on rent, Thorne. I'm securing my property." "It's midnight." Elias cut in, each word precise as a blade. "You brought a stranger to break into my home with 2 children asleep inside. This is illegal lock changing and attempted unlawful entry. Everything you say is on video." He dialed 911 on speaker, never lowering the camera. The operator's crisp voice filled the night air. "911, what's your emergency?" "This is Elias Thorne, 247 Maple Ridge Drive, Pine Haven. My landlord is attempting an illegal lock change right now. My children are asleep inside. Send officers immediately." "Units are dispatched. Stay on the line." Barrett took a step back, his bravado cracking. "You can't. This is my property." "Which you're attempting to illegally enter," Elias replied. "Keep talking. My lawyer will love this footage." The locksmith had already retreated to the truck, toolbox clutched to his chest, clearly wanting no part of whatever was unfolding. Titan remained perfectly still behind Elias, positioned exactly where he'd been trained, between the threat and the objective. His growl had quieted, but his teeth remained visible, amber eyes locked on Barrett with predatory focus, minutes stretched taut as wire. Barrett paced, muttering about rights and tenants and disrespect. The locksmith stayed in the truck. Elias kept recording, phone steady, his breathing controlled. Red and blue lights finally cut through the darkness. Officer Reese Morgan stepped out of her patrol car, her sharp brown eyes taking in the scene with practiced efficiency. Barrett at the door, the locksmith cowering in the truck, Elias calm with his phone raised, the sound of Titan's low warning growl audible even from the street. "What's going on here?" Her voice carried authority that cut through Barrett's bluster. Barrett tried first. "Officer, I'm the landlord. This tenant's behind on rent." "At midnight?" Morgan interrupted. "With a locksmith?" "I have the right to secure my property." "Not at midnight. Not without a court order." She pulled out her notepad, her tone sharpening. "State law prohibits landlords from changing locks or entering occupied residences without due process. You know this, Mr. Holt." Elias stepped forward, phone extended. "Everything's recorded. He brought someone to change the locks while my children were sleeping. I called 911 immediately." Morgan watched the video, her expression hardening with each passing second. "Mr. Thorne handled this exactly right. Lights on, video evidence, kids safe inside. That shows stability and proper protocol." She turned back to Barrett, her hand resting deliberately near her belt. "You'll cease this immediately. I'm filing a full incident report. If you attempt this again, you'll face criminal charges for harassment and illegal entry." The locksmith raised both hands from the truck window. "Hey, I was just hired. I didn't know it was like this." "Get in your truck and leave," Morgan ordered. "Now." He obeyed without hesitation, tires kicking up gravel as he fled. Barrett lingered, face twisted with impotent rage. "This isn't over." "It is for tonight," Morgan said firmly. "Leave, or I'll book you for trespassing." Barrett spat on the ground, muttered a curse, and stomped to his truck. The engine roared as he sped away into the night, The silence that followed felt heavier than the confrontation. Morgan turned to Elias, her expression softening slightly. "You did everything right. Video documentation, immediate 911 call, children kept safe. This works in your favor. CPS will see this as proof of proper judgment under pressure." She scribbled notes. "I'll include in my report that you followed protocol perfectly. This strengthens your case significantly." Titan finally relaxed, his body loosening, though he remained positioned between the door and the children's room. Morgan crouched briefly, extending a hand. The dog sniffed once, then allowed her to scratch behind his ears. "Good guard dog," she murmured. "He didn't move an inch." "He knows his job," Elias said quietly. After Morgan left, Elias locked the door and slid the chain into place. His hands were steady, but exhaustion hit like a physical weight. He checked on Maya and Leo, still sleeping, undisturbed, protected from knowing danger had come knocking. Titan followed him to the kitchen, pressing close as Elias sank into a chair. "You were ready to go through that door, weren't you, boy?" Elias whispered, running his hand through the dog's thick fur. Titan's tail thumped once against the floor. A promise kept. Tonight had proven something Elias had known since the first deployment. Vigilance never sleeps. The threats might be different here. No IEDS or enemy fire. But the principle remained the same. Protect what matters. Document everything. Never let. Elias opened the door the next morning, expecting nothing but another battle to plan, another threat to document. Instead, he found a line of pickup trucks, vans, and even 2 bicycles leaning against the fence. A dozen people milled on his front lawn, carrying toolboxes, paint cans, and lumber. At the head stood Hank Travers, a master electrician in his 50s with weathered copper skin and a thick beard streaked white. His eyes carried the weariness of bitter winters and storm blackouts, but his voice was steady. "Elias Thorne, heard you've been having trouble with wiring, mold, and a whole lot more. Thought we'd lend a hand." Beside him stood Donna Briggs, a carpenter in her 40s with long blonde hair tied back under a red bandana. She was tall and wiry, arms corded with muscle, a single scar cutting across her left forearm. "Mold eats at houses," she said, peering at the siding. "But not today." Behind them came a cluster of high school students in hoodies, lugging buckets and mops. Their leader, a boy named Ryan with thick glasses and earnest energy, grinned. "Our shop class needed community service hours. Might as well do something that matters." Martha Sinclair arrived last, carrying a box of light bulbs and bottled water. "We're calling it the Porch Light Project," she explained, smiling. "A promise that no child in Pine Haven should live in the dark." Elias felt his throat tighten. Thank you, really." "Save the thanks for when we're done," Hank said, hefting his tool bag. "Let's get to work." The house erupted into organized chaos. Hank attacked the breaker box, muttering about brittle wires and fire hazards, his calloused hands moving with practiced precision. He replaced corroded circuits, ran new lines, installed modern outlets. Sparks flew, but his movements were surgical. Donna suited up in gloves and mask, scrubbing black mold from bathroom walls with chemical solution. She cut out rotted drywall sections, replacing them with clean boards. Her hammer blows echoed steady as a heartbeat, each strike driving out the decay. The students fanned across rooms, scrubbing corners, sealing gaps with caulk, repainting trim. Their laughter rang through the hallway, turning gloom into warmth. Maya watched from the doorway, clutching her stuffed rabbit, uncertain if she was allowed to join. Martha noticed and crouched beside her. "Sweetheart, can you hand me that paintbrush?" "Perfect. You've got a steady hand." Maya glowed under the praise. She painted baseboards with neat, careful strokes, her blistered hands healing enough to hold the brush. Each compliment from the volunteers made her stand a little taller. Leo sat on a blanket in the living room, giggling as Titan gently nosed a rattle back toward him. The baby squealed with delight, grabbing the dog's fur, and Titan bore it with infinite patience. Each laugh from Leo seemed to dissolve the heaviness that had hung over the family for weeks. By late afternoon, Hank climbed a ladder on the porch, installing a new fixture. Bright, sturdy, modern. He flipped the switch, and warm light flooded the yard. "There," he said, satisfied. "That'll shine for years." The porch light glowed steady and unyielding, pushing back the shadows that had claimed this house for too long. Donna stepped back, surveying the freshly painted walls, the sealed windows, the repaired floors. Not bad for a day's work. Ryan and the students gathered their supplies, high-fiving each other, faces flushed with pride. "This was way better than classroom stuff," Ryan admitted. Martha handed Elias a casserole still warm from her oven. "For dinner, you've got enough on your plate without cooking tonight." As the volunteers packed up, each one stopped to say goodbye. Not with pity, but with genuine warmth. Handshakes, shoulder pats, promises to check in. When the last truck pulled away, Elias stood on the porch with Maya and Leo. Titan sat at their feet, tail wagging slowly. The house behind them looked different. Walls clean, lights bright, air fresh. It felt different too. Less like a place they were trapped, and more like a place they belonged. Maya tugged his hand. "Daddy, is it always going to be like this? Safe?" Elias knelt, pulling her close. "I'm going to make sure of it." The porch light glowed above them, a beacon promising that no matter how dark the night became, someone was watching. Someone cared. And for the first time since coming home, Elias believed that maybe, just maybe, they weren't fighting this battle alone. Amanda Pierce arrived with her clipboard on a gray Thursday morning, her strawberry blonde ponytail swinging as she walked through the house with practiced efficiency. This time, her green eyes carried something different. Not suspicion, but cautious optimism. She opened the cabinet beneath the sink. The mold was gone, replaced by clean wood and new pipes that didn't drip. She ran her finger along the seam, nodded, made a check mark. Remediated. Good. In the kitchen, she noted the fresh groceries organized on shelves, bottles sterilized and lined up like soldiers at attention, the safety plan still taped to the refrigerator with every requirement highlighted in yellow. Another check mark. She watched Maya set the table for lunch. Plastic cups, paper napkins, a small bowl of applesauce. Age-appropriate tasks, nothing heavy. Maya moved with quiet confidence now, her healing hands steady. Check mark. Leo babbled from his playpen, cheeks fuller, eyes brighter. Amanda crouched to examine him. Color good, alert, responsive. She pulled out a small notepad, scribbled observations. He's gained weight. That's significant progress in 2 weeks. She straightened, tucking the pen behind her ear. Walls dry, no visible mold. Electrical systems functional, lighting adequate, water fixtures repaired. Children observed safe, clean, and engaged. She paused, meeting Elias's eyes. You've exceeded every requirement on the safety plan. Elias exhaled slowly. Tension he hadn't realized he was carrying releasing from his shoulders. I'm recommending case closure within 30 days, Amanda continued. You've demonstrated consistent compliance, appropriate care, and environmental safety. The system works when people work with it. Her expression softened just slightly. You did good, Mr. Thorne. At Thornwood Community Clinic, Dr. Chen examined Maya's hands with gentle precision. The blisters had healed, leaving only faint pink marks that would fade with time. She stretched Maya's fingers, checking flexibility. Much better. No infection, good healing. Keep using the lotion I prescribed, and these will be completely healed in another week. Leo squirmed on the exam table, grabbing at Dr. Chen's stethoscope. She smiled, a rare expression on her usually serious face. He's hit the correct weight percentile for his age. Hydration normal, reflexes good. She made notes on her chart. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. The letter from Veterans Affairs arrived in a plain white envelope, official and impersonal, until Elias read the words. Application approved. Emergency rental assistance. Enough to cover 3 months while he established stability. The county housing program had come through too, offering vouchers for utilities and a buffer against Barrett's threats. Financial breathing room. The kind that meant he could focus on the children instead of constantly calculating how many days until eviction. Miller's Hardware on Main Street needed someone part-time. Mornings, flexible hours, veteran-friendly. The owner, an older man named Dale with a firm handshake and understanding eyes, asked only one question during the interview. Can you show up on time and treat customers right? Yes, sir, Elias replied. Then you're hired. Start Monday. That evening, Elias sat at the kitchen table surrounded by paperwork. Rental assistance forms signed and filed. Medical records organized chronologically. CPS compliance documentation in a 3-ring binder. Work schedule printed and posted beside the safety plan. Bank statements showing the VA deposit. Everything documented, everything in order. Titan lay at his feet, head resting on his boots, amber eyes half closed but always watching. Elias ran through the checklist one more time, the way he'd run through pre-mission briefs overseas. Safety plan, compliant, medical care, current. Housing, secured for 90 days. Employment, confirmed. Legal protection, active with Gideon's ongoing complaint against Barrett. Every box checked, every requirement met. For years, the military had taught him this bureaucracy was the enemy. Red tape that slowed missions and endangered lives. But here, in this small rental house with fresh paint and a glowing porch light, he'd learned something different. The system could work. When you documented everything, when you met every requirement, when you had advocates willing to fight beside you. Amanda had seen past the clipboard to the father trying. Dr. Chen had provided not just medical care, but fierce advocacy. Gideon had turned legal knowledge into a shield. The VA had provided financial support when it mattered most. And the community, Martha, Hank, Donna, Ryan, all the volunteers, had proven that stability wasn't built alone. Maya padded out in her pajamas, holding her stuffed rabbit. Daddy, is everything okay now? Elias pulled her onto his lap, Titan's tail thumping softly against the floor. Everything's getting better, sweetheart. One day at a time. She rested, her head against his chest, safe and warm. The paperwork mountain might have looked overwhelming, but each form was a brick in the foundation they were building. Not just a house, but a home. Not just survival, but a life worth living. Titan yawned, finally relaxing his guard just slightly. And Elias allowed himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, they'd won this battle. The Pinehaven County Courthouse was brick and modest, its columns worn by decades of wind and winter. Elias arrived early, wearing his only suit, navy, pressed carefully the night before, though the fabric showed its years. Maya walked beside him, clutching a small notebook where she'd drawn pictures of Titan. Leo stayed home with Martha, safe and warm. Titan walked at heel, wearing his tactical harness patched with Elias's old unit insignia. More than one person stopped to watch the German Shepherd move. Controlled, purposeful, a soldier reporting for duty. Inside, Judge Miriam Collier presided from the bench. She was in her early 60s with sharp cheekbones and cropped gray hair, her robes hanging heavily over her tall frame. Her eyes betrayed no sentiment, only decades of hearing excuses and weighing truth. Barrett Holt sat at the opposite table, broad frame sagging in a too-tight shirt, his face ruddy and defiant. Beside him slouched his attorney, Gregory Haskins, thin, nervous, glasses perpetually sliding down his nose as he shuffled papers with unsteady hands. Judge Collier's gavel cracked like thunder. "We're here to address alleged housing violations, failure to provide habitable conditions, and reports of illegal lockout attempts. Mr. Holt, do you understand the charges?" Barrett's voice came gruff but uncertain. "Yes, Your Honor." Gideon West stood, his salt and pepper hair catching the fluorescent light, his worn suit jacket somehow commanding respect despite its frayed cuffs. He moved to the center of the courtroom with quiet confidence. "Your Honor, the evidence speaks clearly." He presented photographs on a mounted board. Black mold blooming beneath the sink, warped floorboards, exposed wiring. These conditions existed for months while Mr. Holt collected rent and ignored repair requests. He played the video of Barrett's midnight lockout attempt, the audio filling the courtroom. "Just get it done before he notices." Judge Collier leaned forward, eyes narrowing. Gideon continued, methodical and precise. "Mr. Holt attempted illegal entry into an occupied residence with 2 minor children inside. He threatened eviction without due process. He created an environment so unsafe that a 6-year-old child developed chemical burns from trying to clean it herself." The courtroom fell silent. Amanda Pierce took the stand next, her green eyes clear and professional. "I conducted 3 inspections of the Thorne residence. Initially, conditions were unsafe. Mold, structural damage, inadequate sanitation. However, Mr. Thorne immediately addressed every concern. He followed the safety plan meticulously. The children showed marked improvement in health and emotional stability within 2 weeks." She glanced at Elias, her voice strengthening. "I've worked child welfare for 6 years. Mr. Thorne demonstrated exactly what we hope to see. Immediate protective action, full compliance, and genuine commitment to his children's well-being. I recommended case closure." Dr. Chen followed, her dark braid falling over one shoulder as she presented medical records. "Maya Thorne arrived at my clinic with 2nd-degree chemical burns on both hands, consistent with prolonged bleach exposure. Leo Thorne showed signs of dehydration and malnutrition. These injuries occurred while residing in Mr. Holt's property under conditions he failed to remedy despite legal obligation." Barrett's lawyer fumbled to his feet. "Your Honor, my client, the property was, there were financial constraints." Judge Collier raised one hand, silencing him. Mr. Haskins, your client collected rent while allowing children to live in hazardous conditions. He then attempted to illegally evict them at midnight. Do you have actual defense or just excuses? Haskins sat down, defeated. Judge Collier's gaze turned to Barrett, and her voice dropped to steel. Mr. Holt, housing law is not optional. You endangered children through negligence and attempted intimidation tactics that violate state tenant protections. This court imposes a fine of $5,000, payable within 30 days. You will fund professional remediation, mold removal, structural inspection, plumbing repairs, under city supervision. Failure will result in additional sanctions. Barrett's face sagged, all bluster draining away. The judge turned to Elias, her expression softening fractionally. Mr. Thorne, you acted responsibly and consistently in your children's best interest. Full custodial rights remain with you. The CPS case is closed effective immediately. She looked directly at Maya, who sat in the front row clutching her notebook. Young lady, I want you to know something important. Her voice carried through the courtroom, firm but gentle. No child should ever have to hide under a bed again. That's why we have courts, to make sure the people who are supposed to protect you actually do their jobs. Maya's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. Judge Collier made one final note. Regarding Mindy Keller, her name is entered into state records as unsuitable for child supervision. She is permanently barred from licensed childcare roles. The gavel came down with finality. Elias stood, and Maya ran to him, throwing her arms around his waist. Titan's tail wagged once, slow, deliberate, satisfied. Outside the courthouse, Gideon shook Elias's hand. Told you we'd win. Thank you, Elias managed, his voice rough. For everything. Gideon smiled. Buy me coffee sometime. That'll be thanks enough. As they walked to the truck, Maya squeezed Elias's hand. We can stay? We can stay, he confirmed. And nobody's taking you away. Ever. Titan jumped into the passenger seat, positioning himself like always. Watchful, ready, loyal. Victory didn't always come with trumpets and medals. Sometimes it came with a judge's gavel and a child's relieved tears. Sometimes it was simply being proven worthy of the trust placed in your hands. Spring arrived slowly, winter's grip loosening one day at a time. The cottonwoods along Maple Ridge Drive burst into green, and the air carried the smell of thawing earth and new beginnings. The house that had once felt like a prison now breathed with life. Maya's bicycle was small and blue, second-hand from the church donation box, but to her, it might as well have been made of gold. She wobbled down the driveway, knees shaking, braids bouncing as she pedaled furiously. Daddy, look, no training wheels. Titan trotted beside her, matching her pace exactly, his body positioned to catch her if she fell. When she veered too far toward the curb, he nudged her gently back on course with the shoulder. Maya laughed, bright and unreserved, a sound that had once seemed impossible. Inside, Leo had discovered the miracle of his own 2 feet. He pulled himself up using Titan's thick coat, tiny fists gripping fur, and took his first wobbly steps across the living room. The dog stood perfectly still, patient as stone, letting the baby use him as a living support. When Leo stumbled, Titan pressed close until the boy steadied himself again. Every evening now, the porch light glowed warm and steady. Neighbors had started gathering on their own porches just to watch, waving to Elias as he supervised Maya's bicycle adventures. Children from down the block joined in, circling the driveway in a small parade of wheels and laughter. Titan shepherded them all, moving from child to child with gentle authority, ensuring no one strayed too far or fell too hard. The mailman had taken to carrying dog biscuits specifically for Titan. "Best guard dog on the route," he'd say, tossing one with a grin. The school bus driver honked and waved each morning when she saw the German shepherd sitting sentinel on the porch. On Sunday, Pastor Martha spoke about miracles during her sermon at Pine Haven Community Church. "Sometimes," she said, her voice carrying through the small sanctuary, "the Lord sends us guardians not in armor, but in fur. Sometimes protection comes with 4 legs and a loyal heart. Sometimes hope arrives when a soldier comes home and refuses to surrender his family to darkness." Elias sat in the pew with Maya and Leo, humbled by the weight of her words. Titan had stayed home. Guarding the house had become his sacred duty, but his presence was felt even in his absence. The house on Maple Ridge Drive had become something more than shelter. It had become a symbol. The porch light that Hank Travers installed now served as a beacon for the whole street. A promise that someone was watching, that community meant protection, that no child would be abandoned to fear. One evening, Elias sat on the porch steps with Titan beside him. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. Maya rode circles in the driveway with 3 other children, their voices rising in joyful chaos. Leo napped inside, safe and fed and loved. Elias ran his hand through Titan's fur, feeling the familiar scar along the dog's flank, a reminder of battles fought and survived. "We've come a long way, buddy," he whispered, "from hiding under beds to this." Titan's amber eyes tracked Maya as she pedaled past, his tail wagging slowly. Elias thought about the journey, the horror of that first discovery, the battles fought on multiple fronts, the community that had risen to support them, the systems that had worked when properly engaged. He thought about Amanda's advocacy, Dr. Chen's fierce care, Gideon's legal fire, Martha's unconditional help. He thought about how strength wasn't what he'd believed it to be. Not individual, not solitary, but collective. Built from the hands reaching toward you, the neighbors showing up with tools, the strangers becoming friends. "We're home, buddy," Elias whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "Really home." Titan's tail thumped once against the wooden boards. A promise kept, a mission accomplished. The porch light glowed steady overhead, pushing back the darkness that had once consumed this place. Inside, through the window, Leo's sleepy babble mixed with the sound of the television. Maya's laughter echoed from the driveway as she raced past, no longer afraid to make noise, to take up space, to simply be a child. The house that had been a site of hiding, where a terrified girl crouched beneath a bed with her baby brother, too scared to breathe, had transformed into something holy, a beacon of safety, a testament to what happens when one person refuses to surrender and a community refuses to look away. Neighbors walked past waving. "Evening, Elias. Evening, Titan." The dog's ears perked, but he didn't move from his post. Because some guardians are born in battle. Some are forged through loyalty and love. Some arrive with fur and fangs and hearts that refuse to abandon those who need protection most. And some stories that begin in darkness end in light, not because the darkness wasn't real, but because someone stood guard until dawn broke. The porch light glowed. Titan kept watch. And a little girl who once hid from the world now rode her bicycle in circles, visible and joyful and safe, under a light that promised she would never have to hide in fear again. Sometimes the greatest victories aren't won with weapons. Sometimes they're won with presence, with persistence, with a community that shows up, with a father who refuses to quit, and with a dog whose loyalty becomes legend. This was their home now, and the beacon would keep burning.